Hi there everyone again, I'm back. I'll just run a few things first so that we can sort something out. It's not going to let me. Right. There'll be no intro on this one then, obviously, because it's not going to let me play the intro I want to play. Unless I've got it on here. I don't know if I've got it on here. Yes, I have. Hi there everyone, I'm back. I'm just having problems getting onto my protected children one, but it's not letting me. So I'm having to use my crime and justice one. Anyway, as I said, I'm sorry I lost you. I don't know how it happened. I got kicked off and then it stopped the broadcast. Normally when I get kicked off, I just get kicked off. I can come back on and continue, but not this time. It kicked me off. So I'm not happy about that. So when I finish this live, I'm looking at a new streaming app. So, let's just sort something out. Right. So we was talking about the AXEL RUDAKUBANA, and we was looking at his father, his family, right, and their connections with the Rwandan Patriotic Front. How his father was part of that, but allegedly his father left Rwanda before the RPF did the massacre of the Tutsi people. Now how true that is, we do not know. And Axel had a fascination with this, right? A fascination with all of that, like his mum and his father. Now, as I said, if that was my child, I'd be going, what? We got you out of that country. We left that country so that you wouldn't be growing up with that in your head. And he wasn't. He was born in Wales. Somewhere in Wales where they lived, right? And then they moved up to where they live now. But he had all that fancy. Now we're going to be looking at. Oh, let's get this picture off a minute. We're going to be looking at the fact that he had a kill list, apparently. Right, so let's just get rid of that. Oh God, I wish they wouldn't put this up. Just do my head in. What is the feck? Get that off. It says Southport attacker had kill list and was obsessed with extreme violence. Right. AXEL Rudakubana's fascination with extreme violence stretched back years. Students at his high school said he had a kill list of people he wanted to target. Now, back in 2019, in year 9, he was excluded from secondary school for taking a knife in. He was excluded from taking a knife. Good one. Good on him. 3 months later, he returned to the Merseyside school and ran along the corridors trying to attack people with a hockey stick. Rudakubana who pleaded guilty to Southport attacks on Monday had drawn up a list of people he wanted to target. Between December 2019 and April 21, he was referred 3 times to the government's PREVENT programme, designed to intervene and stop people from becoming radicalised. Students at Range High remember a troubled individual. Dylan Pemberton's daughter was 3 years above Rudakubana, but was still very aware of him. Mr. Pemberton told Sky News, I asked her, did you know this kid? And she was like, yeah, he was well known. He tried to attack someone with a hockey stick outside my maths class. It was known to her and her peer group that he had a kill list. Merseyside police said officers found the teenager had an unhealthy obsession with extreme violence. Rudakubana also developed a fascination with despotic leaders and warfare, and also discussed the 1994 Rwanda genocide in the country his parents had lived before moving to the UK in 2002. His mother and father had settled in Cardiff, where their 2 sons were born, before moving to the northwest of England. A week before the Southport stabbings in July 2024, his father Alphonse had stopped his son from taking a taxi back to the Range High School 5 years after he had been excluded. Then 17, he was wearing the same outfit and surgical mask that he wore before he took another taxi into Southport to attack children at Taylor Swift theme dance. He wanted to go to the high school and do a mass attack at the school. His father stopped him, but nothing was done. Nothing else was done. His father didn't report it to police, didn't report it to any organisation that could have helped his son. Didn't report it. That his son wanted to do a mass murder at the high school he'd been kicked out of. That was, what, a week or 2 before the attack on these 3 young girls? His father knew he had it in his head to do something. And they did nothing. Nothing. Now, in America, in some states, they've got a law where if a child goes and shoots up a school, they can hold the family, the mother and father, on charges for letting their child get to a gun. Now, I think they should hold the parents on these cases, especially if they're using knives from the home. You know what I mean? Big chopping knife, whatever, little knife, whatever, from the kitchen. Mr. Pemberton told Sky News it was chilling to think that Rudakubana could have attacked the school the week before. It is chilling. If someone is known to be a psychopathic lunatic who has got delusions about wanting to go and massacre people, you would hope the authorities will just deal with it. Exactly. So why didn't they deal with it? Why didn't his parents report this? Why? They knew he wanted to do it. He'd ordered a taxi. His father actually, he got into the taxi and the father pleaded with the taxi driver not to take him to the school and managed to get his son out of the taxi and back in the house. I'd have had him, what's the name, for his own safety. What is it when you institutionalise someone? I'd have had him institutionalised for his own safety. Perhaps then, if he'd have been institutionalised, this would not have happened. But his parents did nothing about that. They was probably just relieved that they got him out of the taxi and stopped him going to the school. Right? So I hold his parents to blame here as well. Because they should have got help for him that day. When he was going to go to the school and they managed to get him out of that taxi, the father should have got hold of, I don't know, his doctor, the police, someone, and said, look, I want him, lock him up for his own safety, institutionalise him on, you can get I don't know what it is you need, but you can get them institutionalised for their own safety. Get them locked up in a mental hospital. You know what I mean? Until he's deemed safe to be in public. Right? He was clearly on the radar of school and social services and at least his father. So how he's fallen through the cracks, and that's what people want to know. Yeah. Did his father report it to social services, to the health authorities? Right? They said he was dealing with trauma. What trauma? What trauma was he dealing with? Right? So it's just unbelievable what our country, our girls, our children is being let down because they're not acting on anything. Right? So let's carry on reading. Yes, they're going to do a public inquiry into what went wrong. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper said between them, those agencies failed to identify the terrible risk and dangers to others that he posed. I think the government should be held as well. You know what I mean? I want to know how if the government knew any of this, because from what we understand, his father, it was the now president, prime minister, who was the head of the Crown prosecution then, defended his father from being deported back to Rwanda. Oh, shush, shush. We also need more independent answers on both Prevent and all the other agencies that came into contact with him, this extremely violent teenager, as well as answers on how he came to be so dangerous. right? So uh, I'm just going to pull up some videos. Because we've got the family side of it, right? We know his family came from Rwanda. We know his father was part of the forces of the army, part of an army over there, right? We know they had contacts still over there. So that's one part of it. We know he had extreme thoughts and whatever of mass killings. Yeah? He had trauma. I'd like to know what trauma that was. But then we was told and we was only shown at the very beginning this. Hold on. Right? This is the advert he done when he was younger. Right? I don't know how old he'd have been. 9, 8, 9, maybe. 10. Right? We don't know. But using an advert for a Doctor Who advert for children in need. Who's playing? He had part in the advert for children in need. This is the sickening bit about it. Now, we're going to show you this.
It's that time of year again. You can even dress up as every Doctor Who ever.
Right?
Children need.
So we got him there in the advert for children in need. And then as he's growing up, he reads a lot more about his parents and what happened. I'm thinking, at first I thought, well, could it be that he felt despondent because he got that part in that advert? Perhaps he never got any more jobs, right? Any more advert jobs, anything. And perhaps he was feeling a bit despondent. Oh, look, they don't want me because I'm black, or oh, they don't want me. You know what I mean? Perhaps he's feeling a bit despondent and he had that fame, a 15 minutes fame, by doing this advert for children in need. And then all of a sudden, he was a nobody. And he started reading about the Rwanda massacres. And could it be he wanted to have that 15 minutes of fame again? He wanted to be the headline news again. Right? And he had it in his head to go to the school that day, and his father stopped him. But his father should have had him locked up, institutionalised, for his own safety. That day. They should have had him institutionalised that day. So, could it be a bit of that? Could it be he felt a bit despondent because he didn't get no more ads, no more work through through his agency? He started reading. He started getting a lot. What we used to call it a chip on the shoulder. I knew a family, and there's a lovely family. Can't remember the mother and father's name, right? And they had 2 sons, Clive and Martin. Clive was a great lad. He was older. He was more my oldest brother's age. and Martin was like my younger sister's age, right? So there's quite a bit of an age gap between the two brothers. But Martin, he had his head on his shoulders straight. But his brother Clive always had like what we call a chip on his shoulder. He always used to what we now call the racist card. Oh, it's because I'm black. It's because this. It's because of that. Right? He had one hell of a chip on his shoulder. And so could he, after being despondent about after that advert and not getting any more work, become like could he have got that chip on his shoulder? Well, no one wants me no more. I'm a nobody. Well, I'll show 'em. I'll show 'em what a nobody I am. And as the years have gone on, the anger has built up and built up. And no one helped him. Not even his father, who could have had him institutionalised that day for his own safety and the safety of others, knowing what he was planning on doing that day at the school. Knowing that his son had been kicked out of the school for taking a knife in, and then going back 3 months later and hitting everyone and anyone with a hockey stick. Right? A crack of a hockey stick across the head couldn't kill you. Believe me, them hockey sticks were lethal. I know my uncles caught them hockey sticks a lot. They were lethal. So he had a lethal weapon in his hand with that hockey stick. He could have done so much damage. But nothing was done about that. Oh, yes, he was. He was reported to. Hold on. Hold on. I'm just trying to find it. Right, just trying to find the information. But it was reported to this. I did read it somewhere. Where was it? I read it. I'm trying to find it. Was when he did that attack at the school with the hockey stick or the knife. It was either the knife or the hockey stick, right? And then 2 more times in 2021. But they felt he didn't fit the criteria of being radicalised. So I'd like to know what their thoughts were on him, and if they thought, was he a psychopath? If so, why didn't they refer him to an institution? Why didn't they do something? They knew him, they'd been referred to him 3 times, and nothing was ever done. No one picked up on the fact he was a psychopath. I don't think it had anything to do with terrorism. I really don't. Yes, he did have writing in his home, and he did have the PDF file of the terrorist book or whatever. I think that would have been his next step. Right? I think he was working on it, but I don't think he knew how to dispose of the writing. Could you imagine if he'd have let that writing loose? Could you imagine how much more damage that could have caused? He wanted something quick. He wanted to be his 15 minutes of fame again, like he was when he was 10 years old. He didn't like the fact that he was a nobody again. Well, you know what? We teach our children that you can't always have everything you want. Sometimes you get something you want, next time you might not get it. What you want and what you get are two different things. It doesn't mean just because you can't get it or you don't get it, you can go out and stab people or kill people. That to me, it's like a spoilt little brat who wants everything his own time when he wants it now. That's a spoilt brat. But I also think he wanted his 15 minutes of fame. You know what, Axel? You got your 15 minutes. You got your 15 years of fame. And more, because no one is going to forget this. Even when you're sent down and you're in prison. If they hear the news that you've been unalived in prison, you know what a lot of people will be putting? Karma. Because I see so many cases where people have been sent to prison. Just lately, where the father and the stepmother was sent to prison for the murder of their 10-year-old, for his murder of his 10-year-old daughter. He'd been slashed with a lid, the tin lid of a tuna can. Right? You know what people was putting in the comments? Karma. Karma. So that's what people are putting in the comments when they hear about anything happening to you in prison, Axel. Karma. They won't care. They will not care what happens to you. What they will care about is how long you're going to get. That is their one worry now. And I hope to God you get a long sentence, not just 25 years. No. But then again, you might get 20 years. You got to get past the parole board. You got to get past. And when you see that picture of him, when you see that picture, can you see the evil? And that is the face those three girls saw before they died. That is the face those 8 other young girls saw when they was being attacked by him. The face that teacher saw. The face the guy from who had a business just next, right, sort of like next door to it, who went in to help. The face he saw was evil. He wanted his 15 minutes of fame and he got it. I think that resin and all that lot, was he going to use it? We never know now. We'll never know. He wanted to kill. Now, if he'd have got in that, when he went in that building that day, if he'd have locked that door as he went in, he would have killed every child in that building. Every child. It's only because people were able to get in to help stop him from doing so. But he would have killed every child. He couldn't get to the school because the father had stopped him going. And a week later, the schools were all closed. So where did he go? Oh yeah, there's a Taylor Swift party at a community centre place. I'll go there. Right, so Axel, I don't care what happens to you. You're evil. What I care about is these three girls. Three girls here. I care about the justice for those three girls. Don't care about you. Now we're going to listen to what was said outside the courts yesterday. Oh no, we're going to listen to what the black belt barrister says. Okay? Because he tells you, oh, 9 minutes 20, around about 9 minutes 20. Alright, we'll start here.
Not interfere with the work of
Oh
the
no, wrong
police,
one.
the
Wrong one.
prosecutors, and the delivery.
Wrong one.
The
Wrong one. No. 19.
caused here, but I will deal with it nonetheless. Now, of course, most of you will know that murder will carry a mandatory life sentence, but this differs depending on the age of the offender and, of course, the severity. Because many people understand a life sentence to mean you spend the rest of your life in prison, which is not the case. A life sentence in an indeterminate sentence means you spend a minimum term in custody and on conditions and monitored, and you can be recorded, hence the life part of life sentence. Now, a whole life order is indeed where the offender will spend the rest of their life in prison with no possibility of release. But in law, this is reserved to those aged 21 or over when the offence was committed, when the offences and related offences are exceptionally high in the level of seriousness. Now, if someone Ratcliffe, both of whom were 15 years old at the time, they each received a life sentence with minimum terms of 22 years for Scarlett Jenkins. I understand one of those, but so minimum term and 22 years in that case. So whilst the absolute minimum starting point here would be 12 years, it will be significantly north of 12 years. And this is where the law can get a little bit confusing here. Whilst in paragraph 8 of this act, this is the Sentencing Act of 2020, whilst paragraph 8 says detailed consideration of aggravating and mitigating factors may result in a minimum term of any length, whatever the starting point, or in the making of a whole life order. Notwithstanding that paragraph in Schedule 21 of the Act, if we look at section 259, when under 18, there is a duty to detain pleasure, and this applies, as you see here, notwithstanding anything in this or any other act. And what that means for children, that is those under 18 years old who commit murder, is a mandatory life sentence with a minimum 2 years at the moment for children, but north. My Robert Shaw, years minimum, a hospital order, 7 or 30 years of this offence will ultimately have to make this determination for a minimum term and the rest on license. That is not to say, of course, that the parole board is ever going to decide to release this individual. Of course, would be down to a parole board in many, many years' time. But overall, as I say, and with great respect to all those...
And we know how the parole board works. So that's how it works. Minimum sentence normally is 12 years. 12 years. But it could get 20, it could get 25, it could get 30 before he has chance of parole, of being released on license. Right? Now, and he'll be released with a new name and new identity and all that lot, because they won't be able to release him under his current name. Bit like the 2 lads that killed Jamie Bulger. They're under pseudonyms, right? So the public can't find them. And that's what will happen when he gets released. He'll be released with another name, a different ID, or all that lot, protected. He'll be on license. So it just annoys me so much. Well, I'm trying to find... I think it's on here, the interview. Yeah, about Barrister. It's really good. You need to go and subscribe to him. And we're going to watch this.